What's up everyone and welcome to another Warframe video. Whilst testing out the new Arbitration changes to see what my thoughts on them are, I've also been testing a new build on a fan favourite frame, and that's one that's loved by the community. That's Nova Prime. Nova is one hell of a frame that's had a few tweaks here and there over the years, and recently had a new augment mod added to the game for her molecular prime, as well as some tank mods that all comes together to make this video possible. And that is Nova, the tankiest support. What makes her such a good support for missions in general, not just for arbitrations? Well, she is insanely tanky. I'll talk about that in a second, since it has a load of synergy to make it as good as it is. But it's all about molecular prime and its versatility. Not only does it allow everybody to do 200% more damage against every target, and that can be weapon damage or frame damage, so it can amplify Saren's damage in Sanctuary Onslaught, for example. Plus it does something that might be very specific to me, but it puts an effect on every single affected enemy based on your energy colour. So if you put the right colour on, you can very easily see what's not affected by your M Prime. And so if that is affected by, for example, an arbitration drone, that means I can see very easily between what is and what is affected by the drone, even if you can't see it. Depending on your build though, you can also speed stuff up or slow them down, or neither, and only apply the extra damage. She is fantastically versatile. None of that's new though, so if you knew Nova, you'll already likely know that stuff. So let's start with what's working together to make this Nova this insanely tanky support. Well, the thing is that her first ability, Null Star, when modded with enough duration, over 200%, will give you a fantastic 90% damage reduction, but that does only affect health. But that skill isn't recastable, so you need an augment to affect it. Molecular Fission is the clear best choice here. Enemies that die while affected by M Prime will replenish one stack of your Null Star. Since you're Nova, you're always going to have your M Prime up at all times. Doesn't even matter if you're the one that kills the enemy, your teammates killing them also adds back to your Null Star. So you can have your 90% damage reduction up at absolutely all times. Add into the mix Adaptation, a mod that you get from the arbitrations that as you take damage, it builds up resistance to that damage type. So if an enemy shot hits that 90% damage reduction, it builds up your adaptation resistance. Then it does even less damage the next shot of the same damage type that hits. All of this works together with quick thinking and prime flow, plus Nova Prime's amazing base energy pool to give her an utterly ridiculous amount of effective hit points. Now she does have 3 builds for different situations, as I said earlier. Let's start with the builds and the Speed Nova. I'd use her honestly for low to mid level defenses against all factions just to speed them up. Or at a higher level, I'd use it on infested defenses to speed them up a lot. I wouldn't use her on high level defenses with gun-based enemies because of all of them being able to fire 60% faster. It's effectively suicide, quite frankly. The build though, we're tanking our power strength as much as possible here. Power donation in the aura and overextended to take our strength down to 10%. That means that the enemies are 60% faster. Then as much duration as we can fit, Constitution, Narrow-Minded, Prime Continuity. Then we got our tank, Molecular Fission, Quick Thinking, Prime Flow, Adaptation. Speed Drift is on there for a little help with animation times. M Prime is quite a lengthy cast, so it does help with that quite a bit. Arcanes, I've got Energize and Guardian. Neither of them are technically necessary, but they do help her tank quite a bit, because having max energy, that helps. Basically your 4 is going to be up at all times, feeding into your 1, plus you're going to have a really big reserve for quick thinking to use. But there are plenty of ways to get energy in Warframe. This is just by far the easiest. In the footage I was actually using Grace instead of Guardian, but I changed that out because I just didn't find it procced anywhere close to being enough. So the extra damage reduction from Guardian was just by far the better choice here. So that's her speed build. Now for the slow, I use this pretty much only in mobile defenses, interception or excavation against all factions. It's going to slow enemies down considerably, so it will likely make the mission quite boring. But not only do enemies get to the objective slower, they will also fire slower, which helps keep objectives alive easier. The aura for this one is more restricted than the other 2 builds, but if you want to go all in on this frame, you could put Aura Former on here, which actually is going to be It will allow you to have a personal preference on aura. I haven't got a second one to drop yet, but my plan is to put an aura former on Nova. And then we're going to have a single strength mod, which is Umbral Intensify, that puts you very, very close to the perfect cap for the strength needed for max slow, without needing to waste more than one slot, which is super efficient and very, very nice. Then the rest of the build is actually the same as the Speed Nova. The final build is the Neutral Nova, which I use for just about everything other than the situations I already mentioned. Running power donation here again, much like the Speed build, but that's to drop our power strength by 30%, but that reduces our slow by 30%, and just basically means that R4 only applies the 200% damage buff, doesn't change the enemy speed whatsoever. Then it's the same build as the slow, except that we're changing Umbral Intensify for Augur Message to absolutely max out our duration, and that makes our 4 go as far as possible. And those are the 3 builds I'm running for Nova, and that brings us nicely onto my thoughts on this build, whether or not I think it's worth the investment into her because it's a decent amount of former, even potentially the shiny new aura former, which I'm definitely going to be doing. I think it's fairly obvious where my answer is going to be here. I've done probably about 12 hours worth of testing on this build in total in various game modes. Never could get survival to spawn with Grineer or Corpus, so I never could properly test it. And I was dubious about how it was going to perform when you're in a position to take sustained damage from high level enemies. However, a round rolled this Corpus survival, we decided to head into it and then test it there. Well, it ended up with us pushing it like the mission as far as we could, just completely out of the blue, and well, it's no over-exaggeration to say that this build is actually a tankier than Inaros. Without any damage reduction past the armor on Inaros, at this level even a Grace Guardian built, fully built Inaros was getting absolutely shredded. You can even see me stack 5 of the revival tokens to revive one of our Inaroses in the footage in the background. That combination of stacking damage reduction from null stars being constantly refreshed by primed enemies dying to you and your team, adaptation building up as well, Guardian further reducing the damage you take, quick thinking to soak up a little bit of damage if you run out of health. She is ridiculously tanky. It surprised the hell out of me, quite frankly. Naturally, nullifiers are your worst enemy. My only death in this run was me having an argument with one of them and him promptly shooting me in the face. But you get the additional damage from your M Prime, which can help your team so much when you're pushing the limits of your weapons. It is a huge increase in damage. But you're also survivable enough to just revive people and get the life support if you need to. I mean, damn, it was a complete surprise just how far I could actually push it. This build is absolutely incredible. If you love Nova or are looking for one hell of an arbitration support frame, look no further than the ridiculously tanky Nova Prime. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if there's any frames you think I should revisit in the comments below. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and I shall catch you in the next one.